Hey everyone, Larry Chen here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna talk about my Toyota GR86 Daily Drifter SEMA build. I'm assuming you have watched the first video already where I tallied everything up. It came out to almost $79,000. Technically, we're over 80 because I didn't count a couple things like the seat brackets, the extended studs, we have a 10 mil spacer on the front, and of course the biggest thing is spare wheels and tires because it is a drift car. So we're over 80 grand, if you can believe it or not. Just think of all the other cars you could have bought for 80 grand. Yes, that is maybe a little upsetting, but honestly, I am very excited about this car. I am excited because after the SEMA show, I get to use this as a drift car to teach other people that want to learn how to drift. I get to take it and shred anywhere I want. And also on top of that, one really big thing that I really want to jump into is doing a lot more HPDE time attack events. I have an interesting collection of cars, to say the least. My 240Z here, I have a R32 Skyline, and of course I have the A90 Supra. They all serve certain purposes. I built a 350Z, for example, for drifting. The A90 I use for camera car duties. The 240Z, I restored it and I said I wouldn't take it to the track, but of course I did take it to the track and I dinged it up pretty good. So I'm not gonna take it to the track anymore. Maybe. With that said, the GR86 SEMA build started off as an idea because I looked at what Toyota's been doing in the drift world for many years. They started with Scion so many years ago, and they've just been promoting this sport that's kind of unobtainable. It's kind of been weird because they started with a front-wheel drive car, actually. And then up until the FRS came out, they didn't actually have a rear-wheel drive car. Once the FRS came out, it kind of changed the game. But unfortunately, that 2-liter motor was just not very powerful, and it was a little difficult for people to take it as a stock platform and actually drift with it. It's a great track car, but when you slide it around, it's a little tougher to keep it going because it just can't make that much power, even with all the bolt-ons on it. With that said, you look at Toyota, they've spent millions upon millions of dollars promoting the sport of drifting. Even when the A90 Supra came out, you have, Frederick Osbo, Ryan Turk, Ken Gucci, and Jonathan Castro really promoting the brand and promoting that they're doing professional drifting. But unfortunately, those cars that they actually drift are so beyond a street vehicle. They're very unrelatable, and it's pretty hard to imagine that being something that you could own yourself. When the GR86 was announced with more power, I figured, you know what? They fixed the main thing that was lacking on the FRS and GT86. So I figured, you know what? This is the perfect time to build a simple drift car. And Toyota dubbed it the Daily Drifter because it's still street legal-ish. And I left a lot of the safety equipment, and you can drive it on the street and it's still reliable and you can still use pump gas. That was the point. Of course, since I announced this build, it's kind of snowballed. I assumed that it was just gonna be a couple bolt-ons, we'll put a simple livery on it. As soon as I started posting on social, so many companies that I've always wanted to work with reached out to me and they jumped on board and they wanted to help and they wanted to see this sitting pretty in the Toyota booth at the SEMA show. This is actually my third SEMA vehicle. In 2018, I built a Toyota Corolla hatchback that turned into a camera car. In 2019, I built a Ford Mustang with my friends at Galpon Autosport. Of course, 2020 never happened, and 2021, we decided to take a break and not build a car for that show. Come 2022, I reached out to Toyota. I'm like, hey, I really want to build a GR86 for drifting and for time attack use. Let's figure something out. They approved it fairly quickly, and I kept reaching out to them month after month after month. Hey, SEMA's coming soon. You know, I gotta start sourcing parts. I gotta develop parts. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Delays. They finally found me a car, and this car has been very well used. Very well used by the Toyota production engineering team. They actually got this chassis as a development vehicle, and they took it and they raced it at one lap of America, and they finished in the top 20 with essentially a stock vehicle. With that said, it came with almost 7,000 miles on it, and let me tell you, they were hard driven miles. Every single panel we pulled from underneath the car, everything that we opened up, there was grass, rocks, marbles, tire bits, just so much stuff stuffed into every nook and cranny of the car. Part of it is because they push the absolute limit. For you to be able to finish in the top 20 with a car that makes not that much more, over 200 horsepower, blows my absolute mind. I just cannot believe that they were able to do that. With that said, I didn't feel so bad to dig into this build, because it's one thing to take something that has 0 miles, that's never been abused, and then you just shred with it and you do burnouts and all that stuff. This one, not the case, already been abused, no problem, I'll get it sideways right away. First stop was my friends at Studio RSR. They make amazing roll cages, roll bars, all that stuff. So we'll cut to that so you guys can watch that portion of the build. So Toby, I'm sorry about the marks that I left in your driveway.
Don't be.
I just figured, you know what? This thing is gonna be burning rubber its entire life. The rest of its life. So might as well kind of start it off right?
Yeah, set it up here. Yeah,
perfect. Yeah. We've actually been talking for a while, and you know, I've seen what you guys do here at Studio RSR. I love that you guys are in Southern California. You're about car culture, you're about building usable, functional cars, and you guys build your cages in-house here.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what this is.
Got it. So this is a 4-point bolt-in roll cage for the GR86. One of our over 100 models I think we have now. We try to use the build philosophy of, like, from when I was a kid, I was like, man, I want to track my car, but it's my only car, so I have to daily drive it too. So we still kind of, you know, keep that philosophy in mind. And then it's always been a dream to have a cage in a car for me. So being able to make a design for the cages that give you those benefits while not sacrificing all of the things you have to lose when doing like a full welding cage is it's been nice. So a lot of people like it.
The interior is what you guys are really working on, and like we're gonna have Sparco Evo seats, which really will help us save weight.
Yeah.
And also it'll be so much easier to drive too.
Yeah. I think weight is the biggest thing that you can improve on this car because the relatively lower horsepower. Fortunately, our cage, it only weighs 55-ish pounds. Maybe less, but yeah, taking the stock seats out and putting these light Evos in there. Super nice.
Wait, so it pretty much cancels out, but like, what about the material that you guys use?
We offer it in chromoly, which is 20% lighter than mild steel. And then we even offer, for the guys who really want to go overkill, like chromoly with a thicker sidewall. So standard chromoly, we use 0.95 wall thickness. And then on the mild steel, we use 120 wall.
And then you actually are able to paint it any color that you want.
6,500 choices, but you know, you could combine a lot of that stuff and pretty much get to a lot of close factory colors, like even like, you know, crazy yellows and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the reason why I chose red is because I actually didn't want it to just disappear in the interior.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to stand out because I wanted to show people that we actually do take safety seriously.
Yeah.
Because hopefully we never have to use this roll bar.
Yeah.
You know, I hope to never put this on its roof.
Okay.
But this takes it a step further in terms of safety. And because we actually can't do this properly and safely without this.
Yeah.
You know, because with these seats, it's pretty dangerous, I feel like, to use the stock seat belts. It's better to actually have a real harness.
Yeah.
And the way to properly mount a real harness is on a 4-point roll bar like this.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things that we take into consideration, we don't even talk about it that much. We talk about it with our authorized dealers, is that, you know, as much as we try to place this harness bar in the correct position, it's probably one of the biggest features, because every authorized harness maker that's FIA approved has like a degree range from the seat to where it mounts to the harness bar. So it's been hard for us on every car to kind of get every possible seat, every possible mount. So we kind of put it in an average zone, and then we leave it up to our installers and educating everybody, like, hey, that's a very important aspect. So,
you know, to me, it's really cool that you guys have the business that you're doing, where you can ship these cages all over the world, right? This is something that you guys build in-house, but also because you have a full-on shop space, you can do everything here in terms of tuning the car from the ground up.
Yeah, you know, and it was never the plan to really, it was always just like, I wanted to have a race shop and have a way to pay to go to the track, because that's like my real passion. So, you know, the roll cage stuff kind of came out of, you know, demand, and people I met at the track and say, hey, can you make me a roll cage? And yeah, things went from one another. So we've been very fortunate, and you know, we have a great team here, so they do a lot of different things.
Cool. So definitely cannot wait to see you guys at the track again. Yeah.
Oh, you said you're gonna let me drift.
Yeah. That's gonna be the next time we actually see Toby. He's actually gonna drift the GR86.
Our Supra, and then you can drive the Supra on the track.
God, I might get scared, dude. I might. I love driving. I get scared easily though.
Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
As soon as we got the car back from Studio RSR, we pulled it into the shop, and Seibon developed a brand new carbon fiber hood for this vehicle. Seibon goes out of their way to make sure their products fit perfect, like OEM fitment. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm very candid about the fact that I am not a builder. I am a photographer, I'm a storyteller, I'm a vlogger. I take pictures. I shoot racing. You know, that's what I do. But I love cars, and that's why I build cars for SEMA or for myself or to chase the Baja 1000, whatever. There's just so many reasons to build awesome cars. This build was happening in between our normal shooting schedule. Pretty much every weekend we're traveling to a different state or out of country, and we're shooting races, we're doing commercial gigs. In between that, during the week, we may be doing 2-3 shoots a week. With that said, I'm so lucky that we have an amazing team that works with me to help me along the way. As much as I like tinkering and wrenching myself, it is basically impossible. Even though this is a home shop, like this is at my house. I roll out of bed and I come in here and I start wrenching. Next step, I take it to my friend Gino at VaderWorks. I've been working with him for many years. He first wrapped my FJ Cruiser, and since then he's pretty much wrapped every single car that I've built that required any wrap. He did the livery on the GR Supra, and I told him, look, let's take the same livery and the same Toyota Supra GT4 inspiration, and let's move it on to the GR86 and see how that plays out. It's a mix of different colors. You know, it's red chrome with satin over it. I just love that color scheme. You know, I love red, black, and white scheme, especially on gray or dark gray cars. It kind of reminds me of like the Canon colors, especially like all Canon straps are red, black, and white. I don't know, I just think it's cool. So while I've been traveling, you know, we drop the car off, I'm going back and forth with him on designs and, you know, just placement for certain things. And we get it to a pretty good place. We get the car back, and then I call up my friend Jason from Rival Auto Works, who is probably one of the most well-known drift shops in Southern California. He's been building drift cars for many, many years, and he actually held a Formula Drift license himself. I gave him the challenge of installing a Chase Bays e-brake kit, but I wanted it to look a little more OEM. I didn't want it to just stick out in the driver footwell area like a lot of e-brakes do. I wanted him to see if it's possible to actually hide it in the dash. So the actual master cylinder and all of the plumbing, everything is hidden. And because the Chase Bays handle is pretty subtle, I think it looks as OEM as possible. Like if this car came from the factory with a Hydro e-brake, it would essentially look like that. We went with a Parts Shop Max Hydro e-brake kit. It comes with some plumbing. It actually comes with ABS delete items that let us use it as an inline brake kit. So we'll talk about the brakes more in the next episode. I was going through so many things back and forth, back and forth. Nobody made a kit for this vehicle to handle 2 calipers and at the same time retain the stock e-brake. That was a big thing that I needed to figure out because I sold this to Toyota as still street legal, and not having a parking brake is a no-go. I mean, I guess there would have been a way to put a Hydro e-brake and then you put like a bracket on it or some arm that kind of keeps pressure on it and then it can stop the car. I feel like that's not so safe. Leaving it in gear on a hill every single time, it's just not a street vehicle at that point. You know, it needs to have a parking brake. With that said, instead of going with a dual caliper setup, I figured it's probably the safest to go with the inline setup. And like I said, we'll talk about the StopTech brakes that we actually ended up putting on it later. I hope you guys enjoyed the second episode. We'll dig in way more to the build on the third and fourth episode.